What's up, my bubbly boys? Back here with another video. As per usual, hope you guys have an amazing day. Today I have a very special video for you guys because in today's video, chat, I'm not gonna lie, we are eating good this format. This format has fixed a lot of the problems for this deck, post Justice Hunters, and I'm going to be showing you why in today's video. So not only am I going to give you an updated live twin Fiendsmith deck profile, I'm also going to give you 2 replays to show you guys how the deck performs in today's format, and basically a way that we can beat FUWALOS. Yes, you heard that right. The only problem that this deck had was playing through FUWALOS, and now we have a way to play pretty decently well into FUWALOS. So yeah, right before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I am planning to do some maybe planning to do some post Justice Hunter streams, maybe streaming some TCG matches on Omega, something like that. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, comment down below. And yeah, so before we get on into it, I do want to apologize for the lack of content for the past around month. A lot of things been happening in my personal life that I've been needing to catch up on, so apologies for that. But don't worry, I am back, I am alive, and we are back better than ever now. So I won't waste any more of your time, and let's hop right into it. Alright, so for the basic stuff, we have 3 key skill for our main starter of the deck. This is literally the best starter of the deck. Yeah, so there's no need to explain why we're running 3 key skill. I also began to run 3 key skill frost. I feel like that 3 key skill frost is pretty much way better than having 2 key skill frost and 2 Lilas. I really like having 3 frost instead of the 2 Lilas, because if they hand trap your Lila, you don't have an extender, you're kind of screwed. And not a lot of people are running Nibiru as much this format, so I really think that the frost combo is going to become a little bit better this format, right? And of course you have the 1 Lila. She's also a starter, which I really like. It's just not your preferred starter, but of course you still have a lot of ways to extend if your opponent negates your Lila, right? So you do have the 3 frost, the 1 sweep. You have the 3 sunny snitch to get to your frost to be able to extend through your opponent's interruption. Or you also have Cult by the Grave, depending if they have if they're veiling it or ashing the Lila, right? Of course you have the 1 live twin brick, which is the Lila sweep, but this is a must. And I was honestly thinking about running 2, but honestly I don't think we can run 2, just given that we are running an additional brick in the deck, which I'll be getting into a bit, right? And after that you have 3 Sunny Snitch. We don't run Password, remember, because it plays heavily into draw, and we don't want to lose a draw. The deck doesn't lose a draw as it is, so we can't be having to lose a draw, especially with the multi armies and stuff. Sometimes we have to draw ourselves, so that's really important. And yeah, now for the Fiendsmith stuff, we still have 3 Engraver. 3 Engraver is mandatory in this deck because if your opponent ashes your Requiem, you're pretty much screwed depending on your combos. If you start with a Frost combo, you're pretty much screwed if your opponent ashes your Requiem, because after that you don't have an additional body to link off with. So you need Engraver to extend if your opponent ashes your Requiem, which is that's one of the key choke points of this deck, right? And of course you have the 1 Lacrima, the 1 Lurie, and then the 1 Tract. I wouldn't recommend Sanct more than Tract. If you have access to Tract, then you must run Tract, okay? I don't see a world where we actually run Sanct instead of Tract. Like Tract, this gives you so much more flexibility. It's just not worth cutting, right? And the new card that we also have the 1 Paradise, just so you know. And then the new card that we are running in this deck is K917 Izuna, right, along with Lupus, okay? So if you aren't aware what this card does, is that if your opponent activates a card in the hand or graveyard, but at least it has to be a monster effect. Yes, a monster effect in the hand or graveyard this turn, you're able to special summon this card from your hand, okay? This is a quick effect, by the way, so it's basically a hand trap if your opponent activates a card or effect. This could be during your idle player's turn. It doesn't have any restrictions. Like, let's say if your opponent it's not like the FUWALOS cards, which is the most army cards that have restrictions. So you need to have no cards in order to activate them. This has no restrictions, and then after that, on summon, it has an effect a normal special summon, it sends a canine card from deck to grave. So usually the canine card that you're sending is Lupus. Lupus has an effect where if your opponent activated a card or effect in the hand, or a monster effect in the hand or grave this turn, you're able to special summon him from the graveyard. So basically that whole idea is you use a Zuna effect, send a Lupus, and after that he has a very nice effect where he could quick Aziz during your opponent's turn only. So Lupus can go ahead and quick Exceed to any rank 5 in the game, basically, since these two are both rank 5s. This also has an additional effect where any Exceed monster that has this as material gains this effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. So that means any Exceed material. So even if you have, let's say, a Ripper or something like that, and you put a Zeus on top of it, that Zeus is going to be untargetable as well. So very, very insane card, and this basically gives the deck an extra powerful hand trap. I really like this card in the deck. I really think that this helps the deck a lot, and this is what helps the deck play around FUWALOS too, which I'll be showing you guys replaying that in just a bit. Basically, this is basically a godsend gift for this deck, and this really fixes almost all the deck's problems right now. And this is such a powerful hand trap because you could go into things like Ripper. That basically is a negate for any cards in the hand or grave. So that could negate things like Nibiru or Droll, Ash, whatever. Really, whatever hand trap except for impermanence. That has to be a monster effect specifically. And after that, you also have Valon. So if your opponent's playing, you're going second, you could use Valon to go ahead and Book of Moon one of your opponent's cards for free as a quick effect. And yeah, it's just really, really nice. And then after that, this card is sent to graveyard. You could target a face-on card on the field and destroy it, which is really nice. Just an extra value if they have a set card or something like that. Or just like if you could still target the card that you just set, and then just destroy it, right? So really, really nice applications here. I really like Valon. We don't have enough space for Nash Knight here, so that's why there's no Nash Knight. Okay, so next for that hand trap lineup, running 3 Ash, 3 Droll. Although Droll isn't really that powerful this format, you still have to run this. It's absolutely mandatory just because you need to play around FUWALOS. 3 Imperm. It's just a very, really powerful card. Plays around the K9, so this is an absolute must, especially this format. 3 FUWALOS, 3 Purulia, just the most powerful hand traps in today's format. FUWALOS is almost beats almost every deck. And then Purulia is really good against K9 specific because they summon a lot from the hand, especially if they're playing the Vanquish Soul version. So you kind of need to play Purulia in the main deck this format, right? And of course you have the one Call by the Grave to play around hand traps as well as FUWALOS, stuff like that, right? And for the last 2 cards of the deck, we have 2 Droplets. Droplets, I really wish I could run 3, but I really wanted to keep a clean 40 card deck. But the reason we're running Droplets is because this format, I feel like you really, really need to be running Droplets between cards like the K9 stuff, K9 Azuna, and the new Draco Tail cards. There's a Draco Tail card that allows your opponent to quick effect fusion on your turn, which gets them to, which is this one, by the way, Femena. And basically, this gets them into Arthelion. And Arthelion basically bounces a bunch of cards you control to the hand. That really messes up this deck's combos, right? And this card can completely shut you down if they have enough materials to summon this Draco Tail, right? Which most of the time they're gonna have, because this just requires 1 Draco Tail monster plus 1 or more monsters in hand. So as long as they have another Draco Tail plus another monster in hand, they're good, right? So this really does hurt the deck a lot, and so I really feel like Droplet being able to negate this when it's being summoned on our turn going first, as well as a really good settable card going first as well. And going second is a very, very extremely powerful card as well. I feel like it's just too versatile to not run, and especially with those powerful cards running around like the K9 and the Draco Tail stuff, I feel like it's really, really necessary. If I was able to run 3, I would run 3, and I do recommend anybody to run 3, but I really couldn't find space in it at the moment. You could cut a Purulia for another Droplet if you choose to do so, but I really feel like Purulia is really important right now. Maybe in the future though, I will change. Okay. Next for the extra deck, we have 1 Kiska, 1 Lila. I decided to cut the 1 Lila because we needed we needed extra space for our Ripper and Valon. So I decided to cut the Lila and the Moon of the Closed Heaven. So now you have the Deal, the Trouble Sunny, the Abalku, SP Little Knight, Requiem, Sequence, Agnum Day, Desiree, Duke of Demise. This is really important. Still being able to play around Nibiru. Even if not people aren't playing Nibiru, I still think you need to have this card in your deck. Even if your opponent doesn't happen to Nibiru, it's just so versatile. Being able to have another fusion target for the sequence is really, really nice. Necroquip Princess, DDD Wave High King Caesar, and K9 Ripper and Valon, right? I don't run any other rank 5s. We don't have enough extra deck space for Nash Knight, so that's why we're not running Nash Knight. And I just feel like these two are the best rank 5s we could run. This is really good going first, and going second, this is probably your best option for a rank 5 that doesn't need that much space in the extra deck. Okay. For the side deck, the side deck is very, very versatile. The 9 cards, I think you need to be running this format. Oh, especially if you're running this variant. You need to be running the Force Release and the Werewolf in the side deck. This is mainly just going first cards. You just side this in going first, and if you open access to your K9 stuff, this really helps you play around FUWALOS and stuff like that, mulch armies, and it's just really, really good interruption going first. I don't have enough extra deck space to be running this in the main deck, so that's why this is not in the main deck. Plus, I don't really want to have to be running this, especially going second. I don't want to see Force Release going second. I really just want to see Hand Trap, so that's why this is in the side deck. Alright, but the 9 cards I think is a must right now is the 3 Lancia and then the 6 Judgments. I mean the 6 Solemns. Lancia, of course, is just for Malice and stuff like that. Malice is really, really hard matchup, so that's why you really, this is basically a must-have in this deck. And the Judgment and the Strike, right? I decided to run this going first because board breakers are becoming a little bit more prevalent in this format. And one thing that this deck loses to are things like Dark Ruler No More, Lightning Storm, and Forbidden Droplet, stuff like that. Board breakers in general really kind of hurt this deck, especially if you don't set up something like a Desiree, something like that, to be able to negate those, or if they just activate something like Dark Ruler and you can't respond. You're kind of screwed here. So basically, Solemn Judgment is supposed to help you going first against board breakers and stuff like that. It's just a really good card going first in general, right? Let's say they FUWALOS you and have no other plays. You could still set up a nice, decent board with these Solemn cards. And since these are such powerful cards, these are able to stop your opponent, and hopefully they could pass turn back to you. And since they have cards on the board or whatever, you're able to beat them from there after they FUWALOS you, or like they just wipe your board off with their hand traps and stuff like that, right? So I definitely think these are a must going forward in today's format. You have no idea how many times these cards save me. And yeah, so next, the last 4 slots are basically flex spots. I am considering cutting maybe 2 of these for Nibiru. 2 of these Veilers for Nibiru. I'm not 100% too sure about that yet. But you definitely want at least 3 hand traps here to replace for the Droll going second. Because you don't really want to be playing Droll going second depending on the deck that you're going against. Of course, if it's something like Ryzeal, you want to be running Droll. But really any other deck is not going to be really losing to Droll that much. So Droll is really here just to play around FUWALOS again. So you going second, you want to be cutting this for something like hand traps, some more different hand traps, or you could be running Dark Ruler No More as well if you choose to do so. I personally don't want to be running Dark Ruler No More. I haven't done enough testing for that yet. But if Dark Ruler No More does seem like a card worth putting in the deck, I will cut these 3 Veilers for Dark Ruler No More, right? And then you have the third droplet. I really like siding in the third droplet going first. Especially when you're sliding out all these Mocharmies and all of that. You slide all these Mocharmies going first for the 6 Judgments, and then after that you could put in the droplet for like an Engraver or something like that, or you could cut like a Frost for like a droplet, something like that. I really feel like depending on the matchup, you need 3 droplets going first. So like against K9 or Draco Tail, that's when you need those 3 droplets, right? Other than that, you don't slide this in, right? And yeah, that is it for the deck list. I really like the deck list overall. This is subject to change possibly depending on once I do more testing, but this is really what worked for me, this format, and I've got a really high rating with it. So, and I've been getting a lot of consistent wins, so really not too unhappy about this deck. I think this deck still performs really, really well, right? Especially today's format. People may not believe it, but this deck still performs really, really well especially against all the new decks. Alrighty, now that we are done with the deck list, let's go on to some replays to show you guys how this deck can perform in today's format. Alright, so our first replay here, this is going to be going against, I've honestly forgot what this deck was, so we are actually going to be showing you this is not post side, by the way. We're going to be showing you just like a pure just game 1 match against us. So he goes against a duelist. You know what, I completely forgot what this replay was, to be honest. But yeah, this is definitely one of those really good replays. We don't actually draw into any live twin hand traps here, so it's not the end of the world, because we also have the canine cards. This canine Azuna is actually an additional starter for us, which is really insane, because now this brings this deck to a total of 20 starters, right? So he's gonna go ahead and go Peruli here. We're gonna go Engraver, grab the track, activate track, Lurie, discard the Lurie, summon Lurie, link it to Wreck, summon Lacrima effect, send a Fiendsmith, go ahead and equip the Requiem. He's gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and summon Fiendsmith and go play into Caesar, right? Now we are protected from Nibiru. We're protected from Nibiru. We're protected from the Draco Tail hand trap. I forgot the name, and we are protected from Azuna now. Now we could go ahead and go use Azuna effect, summon itself. Since our opponent used a Perulia this turn, we could use the effect special summon. And after that, we could go ahead and go send Lupus. Lupus is gonna summon itself. And after that, we could go ahead and summon out the Ripper. The Ripper is then going to go ahead and detach the material to add a K9 card. So we're going to add another Azuna here. We specifically detach the Lupus, that way we could still use the Azuna plus the Lupus on our opponent's turn. And this will get us into Valon here. So not only we have one negate here, we have the Azuna that could go into that could then go along with the Lupus to go into a Valon, which is another interruption. So you have 2 interruptions there, plus the 3/4 off of the Caesar, and whatever hand traps you have in your hand. So even if you don't draw into your live twin cards, you're still able to make a decent board thanks to the K9 card. So instead of just ending on Caesar or stuff like that and losing to 1 imperm, you get an additional 2 interruptions even if you don't draw your live twin card. So it's really nice to having the K9 stuff as starters. It's definitely makes his deck a whole lot better into this format, right? So he's going to go Foolish Burial. We're going against Luna Light here. Okay, so now I remember. We're going to go against Luna Light here. He goes Foolishes for a Silver Hound. Silver Hound, I believe, searches for Super Poly, right? I mean, polymerization. No, it specials Luna Light from the deck. My apologies. So he's going to go ahead and attempt to call by the grave the Lacrima, I believe. So we go with Chain Lacrima to summon out the Requiem. Oh no, never mind. He targets the Azuna, so that's gonna negate our Azuna in hand since we have Azuna in grave. We're gonna be able to negate his Silver Hound though, so he won't be special summoning in the deck. And we're gonna set up our Paradise plate, right? So we're gonna go ahead and go Requiem, summon out Lacrima. Lacrima sends to Paradise, and now he's gonna go Black Sheep effect. So Black Sheep is then going to add Polymerization. And then we're going to draw here. So he's going to go Polymerization here. We're going to negate the Polymerization off with the Caesar. And he's going to go Tiger here. Special summon this, go into Almirage. We're going to go ahead and... So I predicted that he was going to go into SP Lunite right after this. So what I did was I went into Paradise here. Banishing the Paradise in order to send something on field to grave. We're going to buy off of the Desiree. He goes in and chains Almarch, but it's not really going to do anything. So we're going to just go ahead and win the duel there, since there's not really much that he can do. So it's still a really nice low ceiling field. You have 4 interruptions, well 5 if you count the Lacrima and grave. So 5 interruptions plus whatever hand traps in your hand. Really, really nice for not being able to draw into our live twin cards. This really gives the deck a little bit more flexibility if you don't draw into your live twin cards, right? So really, really nice here. And yeah, so now let's go on to the second replay, which will showcase how to play around FUWALOS. Okay, in our second game here, we're going to be going against Archmage K9. So very interesting deck here. And this is also post side, by the way, but he ends up FUWALOSing us here, so if that makes sense. And we're just going to be showcasing how the K9 cards really, really help play through that, right? So the K9 cards just really fix all the problems for this deck. And we're going to be showcasing it here, right? So we're going to normal summon Kisco. He's going to chain FUWALOS here. Really makes sense here because then after he's going to get a guaranteed draw. so I don't see why not. And next, since our opponent activated a monster effect here, we're going to go ahead and summon out Zuna, a Zuna effect. Send the Lupus. Lupus is going to be able to summon himself. So he got no draws off this, which is really nice. Now we can just go into Ripper. Ripper will give him 1 draw, but that's okay, because now we're just going to use Ripper effect to search, detaching the Lupus to get another Zuna and setting our force release. This is why I cited. So going first, this card is where it really shines, right? So now we're going to go ahead and set 2 more. So we're going to set the 2 Judgment, just 2 Solemns here. This is why the Solemns are going to be really insane. I'm going to show you guys why in a bit. And I decided maybe we can use a couple more interruptions here. So I'm going to go Tract here, get the Lurie, because I'm only going to give him 1 extra draw if I go for the Rec Room here. So I'm just going to set up a Rec Room here. This is going to enable me to summon out the Lacrima on my opponent's turn, and then set a Paradise from the deck to grave. That will give me an extra interruption. He goes ahead and FUWALOS me here, so now that really just shows, just tells me that I'm not gonna be playing anymore here, right? I'm kind of forced to not play here, but I wasn't planning to anyways, right? So I'm gonna go end turn here. He's gonna go and draw. She's gonna go Super Poly. Super Poly really doesn't hurt this deck that much, depending on the board you set up. But most of the time, they're not going to be able to Super Poly your board away, because there's so many different things you have on the board. Like, you have Caesar, that's a water, I believe. You have Troubles Honey, that's a light. And a Balku, that's a dark. So, I think the only thing you can really do is... no, you can't even do Mud Dragon. It needs different types. So, it's like really difficult to Super Poly this deck. So, Super Poly really doesn't hurt us, but here, so he does end up fusing the Rec Room away, so can't really do much about that. That's okay. So he's gonna get the Archmage Academic, the Field Spell basically. Field Spell is the main card for the Archmage stuff, so that's really something. If you don't know a lot in that certain matchup, you really just want to get that Field Spell off the board, because that's what the Field Spell is basically their main card of the deck, right? So he's gonna go Vandalism Assault here. This is gonna add Medius. That's gonna be like their main normal summon of the deck, right? So he's gonna go normal summon the K9 66B Lantern. So we're gonna go ahead and strike that. He's gonna go activate Field Spell. I got the Field Spell as soon as I can by activating my Judgment here. And after that, he's gonna Alteration, activate the Field Spell from deck, and he activates one of the Archmages from hand. So we're gonna go Ripper Negate. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and go K9 X-Force Release. Basically, this lets us Xyz on our opponent's turn. So we're going to Xyz into Werewolf. And then pop a card on our opponent's field. So we're going to go ahead and pop the Field Spell. And then we're going to go ahead and win from there. So our opponent had like 8 cards in hand, and we were still unable to play through our board. We were still going to be able to hand rip with the Werewolf, because the Werewolf is able to hand rip on our opponent's turn. And it's just going to put on so much pressure that our opponent still can't do anything. So even playing through FUWALOS, we were still able to win the game. Actually, very surprisingly. Even if this wasn't post side, if this wasn't post side, we probably still would have won anyways. If I'm being completely honest. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Spent a lot of time making it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future. If you want to see anything new for this format, any tips and tricks or whatever you want. If you want to see a tips and tricks video, I am just thinking about making something like that. So yeah, you guys just let me know what you want to see, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.